Well,
I've done this thing.
okay, toward the end of the month, though.
I've been wanting to, chemicals have been wanting to go down and on every day.
No, I'm fine.
Are you ready?
Sure.
It's gonna be going up.
Pardon?
It's gonna be going up.
Yeah,
Hello, everybody, and
Going on
welcome to
YouTube.
Sacred Rooms.
Hello.
And
2 or 3 days,
and
it's automatically
Greek
transferred to
poetry.
YouTube.
Since 1972, the longest running poetry reading in the Bay Area. I'm Stephanie Manning, and I'm standing in for our regular MC, Dan Brady, who's off in the Caribbean. He's actually recovering from an operation, and so that's taking a while, involving the growth of bones and stuff like that. So we may see him wheel in here sometime, and we will greet him and be happy to see him again. We have many fine poets. If you haven't signed the sign-up sheet, you come by and sign up, or if I see you, I'll put you down. Sometime around the intermission, I don't know if we're going to have enough poets for a second half, but we'll do a raffle. But look at all the, I think we have more items than we have poets here. We have books and lots of, we have a Clara Sue poetry book. It's very nice.
All right.
Many different poetry books, the magazines, Sunset magazines, and they all come to you by virtue of donations from people like yourselves. Clara and Tom have donated tonight, maybe somebody else tonight. Steve Mackett. Oh, and the late Steve Mackett. So let's kick it right off. And first we'll have Buford Bunton, followed by David Erdreich and Owen Duncan. Let's give
Speaking of Steve Mackin, I think this is the first time I've taken #1. I felt funny about doing it, but I decided I wanted to try it this time. You can go, because you know Steve had to be #1. He was awesome about that. Anyway, this is twice. I got the guy, Emilio, twice in his walker today, something he hasn't consented to in a while. The head teacher encouraged me both times, something she hasn't done before in her first semester in 2013 and so far this term. Emilio and I navigated the potholes and the junior ROTC students who marched about while their middle-aged retired Army teacher directed them in their process. The metal and rolling wheels and skinny Emilio and I navigated about the quad, 4 buildings facing in toward Emilio and me. His arms dangled loosely over the human-sized erector set like facilitator. His silent tongue and eyes scanned what little light there was on a mostly sunshine-challenged day. Okay, this is about my relationship to another student. All at Balboa High School here in the city. This is called Frustration. Banging on outside chain link fences, he screams, a little curse word letting itself out here and there. One of my class's 2 greatest challenges in the behavior department let steam come barreling out of his crew-cut haired head and his mouth with a sometimes handsome smile, sadly burdened with an already seriously furrowed brow there at just 16 years old. He lay on an outside concrete slab above a couple of steps at times leading to the high school's metal grandstands. A track, football, and soccer field set the scene below him. He's 6 foot plus and close to 200 pounds, I imagine, and his increasing coordination is developing him into a fair special ed basketball player. reteaching personnel in his classroom hope he is emotionally well enough to play if we field a basketball team as in the recent past.
David, third right. David is featuring this week, so.
Where is he featuring?
You're featuring here.
Yeah.
I know everybody's going to disappear and no. Okay, I'm going to start with a song that I wrote a while ago. The aloe sings to the hummingbird. Hummingbird sings right back. Nectar brings it a running bird on an invisible track. Color red and a tractor, needle bill in petite fleur. Backwards, forwards, spinning round, wings so fast they move in a blur. Pollen sticks to the feathers, helping flowers to make love. Currents changing direction, moving in the air above. Roots stretch down in the earth now, leaves unfold to kiss the sky. Flowers changing position, following the sun, oh my. Perhaps the earth is a garden, every species seeks its own way. Life presents tiny miracles, you can find one every day. Okay, now I'm going to start with a couple of haikus, one yesterday and one from the day before. It's called, I do a lot of gardening, trim and fit. Cut interior branches to let in the light so the tree can fly. And the day before, pollen, it's flying. As writers, we need clean sheets, extrapolate clouds to rest our heads on. So this is a hip political spot, so I'll start with a hip political. Mockingbird of culture has deftly laid an egg. It's very plain that John McCain keeps pulling his own leg. Iraq. I gotta wait for the laugh, okay. Iraq is such a hard place, he's caught in his own loop. He merely yearns to bomb and burn, return and plan next coup. Eternal man of war, that peace he'll never find. The glory that he seeks exists, but only in his heart. Blaming Obama for Iraq. That's a little bit of a stretch there. A little bit of a stretch. Okay, how are we doing for time? Slips through my fingers like water through a sieve. Money. Slips through my fingers like water through a sieve. Love. Slips through my fingers like water through a sieve. Music. Slips through my fingers like waters through a sieve. Mushrooms. Slips through my fingers like water through a sieve. Bird-like. Slips through my fingers like water through a sieve. Word life. Skips through my fingers. I have fallen and I can't get up. Fukushima killed the dreamer, destroyed life, fell to the floor of the ocean with wave motion, spreading death from shore to shore. Nuclear fission, X the vision, left a blank, expands in haste, bringing grief to coral reef, no safe place to dump the waste.
Okay, next is Jack Mellinger. But before Jack gets up, let's give a hand to our hosts, Teddy and Fiona.
There. This is called Shanae.
Can I put that down for you so it's a little easier?
I'm gonna be tall one day.
I understand that one will work a little bit better.
This is called Shanae. The sunbeams beat on me one day and beat upon the summer garden. They warmed its leaves and buds that play, and daydreams deepened until they not even once to ask my pardon. The nights are full of dubious delights whose dealers lurk among the ghetto streets, but I must save my money for a lay from that sweet-looking girl, Shanae. I feel too fun. I can't shirk. The real high rises in love play of her club, boudoir, and satin.
A little slower.
You could have her strip her down and shower and laugh her life alone is long and dull. Wipey times are waiting with color. There are countless blissful chances possible in static dances. What boots it to protract desire, suspense, procrastination, and delights just fence? And there are so many possibilities of this. How can resolute flirtation prolong this? Don't think, feel, or smile, sweet. This is called, may I have your home phone? It's okay, break my heart though your answer leaves me lone. I admit that for my part word yes. Instead I'd ask words less technologically sent and Eunice wish to fast. You on some date soon to see, then so sweet to see and hear. You are one who I'd most hope my other senses cheer, but forget it, you said no. We though may be lovers yet chase with use of killer in this country. You can bet every love of yours goes far. I could be your guru figure, you my friendly fascination like a mirror. I could figure life fulfillment, maturation, God inside of a woman's body. Say Thracian good just she of midnight orgies or Toronto love poems, muse or cheese Aphrodite or Drake's Aaron. Venus say Egyptian Deborah, an old bald guy. The moments between us, say your love, God, ever. It's called Smile. Her smile shook the foundations of one's faith in the joys of despair. Daydream bastions better than tormented waking fantasies in fade long. The surreal miasma of porno magazines. Breathless page turning sessions, then real she. Her smile that silent hinted to the eyes of hidden metamorphic powers, a voice convincing to the ear. Then who knows what sense.
Next is Jack O'Neill, followed by myself, and then Clara.
You like my Cherry cake?
Hello.
Okay, that's all right. Is that okay? Yeah.
No, Colin, come up now.
No, that's all right.
Ladies and gentlemen, okay. It's a little harder to read under the red umbrella, yeah.
Under the orange panty.
Under the orange panty, yeah. All right, it's definitely harder to read. Okay. No, this one. What?
Concentrate.
Yes, yes. Very hard. No title for this one.
On someone else.
Yeah. Here we go. The long and narrow room is of some age. The furnishings too. The walls are faded in that beautiful way. The eye follows them to the ceiling, not stopping long on the painting or two. At the top, new information. The walls are sized, and the sizing is peeling back and down at one point, and just curling back from a vertical seam, showing a large black plastic pipe capped off. The pipe. I am not fooled by the cap. I know the pipe is large to deceive. The cap is to fool fools, and the pipe only ever trickles and always trickles The pipe is not permeable. The cap is not permeable. I am permeable. I am the pipe and its contents. Fear. I am a being of air, and fear is the sea. Adam shows me my asymmetry in the mirror. And the sea fills the room, and I do not breathe, cannot breathe the sea. I will uncap the pipe, and when I do, full volumes pushed forth, heavier than the sea, filling the room and emptying it of fear. Pressing me into immobility are the new contents. I cannot breathe, I cannot move. The minutes, the sections of my life cease to exist as I'm pressed into immobility by the eternity of my peccadillos. Thank you.
And now, sorry, Owen, I skipped you. We'll have Owen Dunker.
Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Another poem at Starbucks. People peruse like Christmas shoppers after Christmas. A sign on the bus says, not in service. People march and walk quietly up and down 3rd Street. In the year 2014, familiar and ordinary. No, the air has been cleaned of envy and metaphor and the certain love of loves. Another poem. My poems plod on the pages like a plow horse that pretends to be a dashing thoroughbred. Thank you. Another poem. I am like a boat snoring at the mooring. Poema appassionata. Set this house on fire. My thrust sets the world on fire. I sometimes think I am at the top of high achievement and excruciating responses. High excitement and high achievement. Only Henry James. History is dark. Another poem. The icy trees in North Beach I cannot reach, for I am just a small boy that is yet to be obeyed. Two more poems. One, turn up your heart, the moon is full. Number two, the morn of the moon is in morning.
Could you do those two again?
Sure. Two more poems. One, turn up your heart, the moon is full. Two, the morn of the moon is in morning. Whippoorwill. Will o' the wisp, lank in the firelight of roses. Sparrows mock and cross each other in the huge, dank, dark sky of pain that drank the iron draught, the albatross with heart-like cavaliers that toss the caber, the hand of the tank that can drown all our sorrows. And our fright that doth to veil out to the heavens, that narrows the barren bravura our minds do avail. Our thin arms of love and dismay. Skinny skies are barren, and gray. One night, it happened up on a nail taken sitting on an upside-down pail. Sylvia tonight, the late misbegotten trumpetress of verses, Flaxen of Rivera, the Goring, her turn of force, her life a brilliant, boring pass at fame and rhyme, and at the din and clamor and glamour of poetry, capework by an exceptional amatador. If language like a hawk flies and flows to the heavens, the small jest stays in my cupped hand. Looking back, we met last Thursday riding the 18 bus as if it were a carriage of destiny around Lake Merced and the surrounding SF State area. Memory flooded itself back to my consciousness. The area has in some ways changed very little in 42 years. The same trees line the sky, the tranquil Lake Merced and the surrounding dam are still there as the bus makes its way to Stonestown. I transferred to the M car surrounded by State College students with their yuppie, semi-sophisticated appeal as a chick. A young chick, a sweet young thing, almost virginal, and a boob job. Yes, a boob job, and I think pregnant. Don't quote me on. I'll just finish this. Don't quote me on that. I don't know all, and I certainly would not ask those two young swains in the seat in front of me. The M car different from the old street cars pressed into service. The F car serving the Castor area, rockin' and sockin' hairy dudes going every which way. I'll just read one more. Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, hello again. You haven't signed in? This is called Full Moon in January. A lot of moon poems today. Full moon in January rises up over the Berkeley Hills with Jupiter in tow to join the winter hexagonal shining. A broadcast of poets of the divine sun's transcendence over dusk. Transcendence by virtue of distance, and by midnight the full moon will be directly overhead in its continuous exaltation of the sun each and every month since the beginning of our time. The moon, our most reliable friend on these clear nights, and between the wavering branches as our difficulties sway with our lives and the clouds of sadness roll in, nothing like the transformative power of the moon, when at long last we see it once again like an old friend come to call, beautifully positioned against the blackness on a starry night. And the astonishing sight is free to the sighted, no matter what their circumstances. It makes life once again worth living. Our dear, dear moon, warming itself in the glow of the sun, not long set, and following that westward path towards the dawn of a new day, when all terrible trouble will seem a little less miserable, by virtue of dawn, and eventually bird song. Dew will dry, and breakfast, so good to eat breakfast. May the memory of our old friend's moonshine stay with us, even unto our salvation. Okay, next is Clara Sue. Yay,
All right.
Clara. Followed by Tom Goldberg and Bruce Fessenden.
Where are you at?
Okay, two poems. This one is titled Goodbye Year of the Snake. It's coming up. The smell of coffee, soundless, the sun, ancient drink, cast shadows over the hilltop. The snake takes a big gulp, soundless, the garden, swallows us all in filtered light. It rips our skin, soundless, the leaf twirls. It crushes our bones, swirls wander. It churns our remains over the stream. It spits us out, the mist flowering. We roll in the sand upon the shallows. Dust rises, the rocks, the shells. Fears dust storm, dimming in the forecast. A horse whinnies, gray, soundless silhouettes. This next one I wrote yesterday with Jack Foley. I wanted to know what a ballad is, and he showed me, how to do it. And then he said, "Well, why don't we do it together?" I said, "Okay." So we wrote this, and so we had to come up with a title. And he wanted to write something about Anne Boleyn, and I remember a friend of mine, a Mongolian friend, who had a book out, and the title of her book is The Green-Eyed Llama, and I thought, that's a really good character. So this ballad is about Anne Boleyn and the Green-Eyed Llama. Anne Boleyn lay in the dungeon, waiting for the axe to fall. There came an apparition against the farthest wall. It was the green-eyed llama who faced her with a grin. "Give over your religion. There's no such thing as sin." "Move over, you burrito. How dare you lecture me? Even though I am in the tower, I still have eyes to see. Your dirty robe, your foreign look, and skin as brown as donkey. You'll have your beads, I have my book. You'll never be a honky." It's the thing that I made up, you're but an apparition. The sort of thing that someone sees when placed in my condition. But I am Christian through and through. I am not dumb or blind. Though as soon as I must lose my head, I shall not lose my mind. The green-eyed llama made a move. He clasped his hands together. All of a sudden, the walls collapsed. My God, they were freed forever. Anne Boleyn gave one big howl and screamed with sheer delight. She rushed about the verdant hills like a headless bird in flight. The moral of this simple tale: in imagination, trust. Or at any rate, don't lose your head unless you absolutely must.
Next is Edwin Drummond, followed by Tom Holberg, Bruce Fessenden, Hal Pelosi, Mark O. Harps, and then our feature.
Hello.
To some degree, I open this book of poems like a masquerade, hoping that something living will emerge. They're old poems, but I don't think they've disappeared entirely into memory. The 21st century. Then the flowers, like children emerging for the first time ever at their own back door. Innocent, a sea of faces, blurred sounds and colours, brushed by the sun's warm rays. It is all they can do to open their mouths. Torsos of felled eucalyptus, palisades of agave, insects strewn in dew ponds, mown down green millions. Snippers, cutters, shovels, machetes, barbed wire fences, trenches, bulldozers, chemicals, and that stench. Welcome to the garden. No contest. Cycling into the headwind, buffeted by hunger. Anxious, no new poem had answered my longing to be fired, ardent by the word, to burn the calories of languorous, lazy language. What inspires me to go on when the wheels turn to stone is a pizza. Ordered over the phone, it would be done as I was told. Be there for me. Hot, not enough to burn, but not stone cold. Unlike the stubborn poem whose birth births the poet in his own bloody amniotic words, which he has to eat and may throw up. The pizza is complete. No peppers have to be invented, no adjectives melted, no nouns pounded into flowery sentences. It drips with life. Before your teeth sink in and slowly bite, it is a sunrise of smelted cheese, streaming gold-laced trees of broccoli with artichoke hearts and ears of white mushrooms that recall the pungent childhood woods and fires of dried red pepper that radiate pleasure, juicing Drive's tongue. It does not hint at afterlife or mean to gun adrenaline into ephemeral promises that with these breaths and gasps of language, death will be surpassed, and heaven on earth begin when people listen to their poet within, which may come true, except for politicians and poets, to whom the muse declares, let them eat fresh air. You heard? So choose one slice, pizzas with all the trimmings, or the ravenous words of life. I was a manager in an apartment building once, and I was informed that annually 2 doves would come and build a nest on the first floor of the fire escape. And one of the duties of the manager, well, I'll tell you. Yesterday, just before I swept a mess of light brown twigs the wind had whisked around the drive, a scuffling sound made me look up. 2 grey doves were building, kindling on the first deck of the fire escape. From the shape, the place half hidden, and the greening time of year, I guessed a nest. First thought was pleasure. Next came fear that some owner might not recognize how doves, like love, come without permission, and order its removal. I will not remove it, which might lead to my dismissal. Next day, first thing, I sweep up the telltale twigs, noticing from below the woven forming, hear the excited voices calling as they shuttle to and fro, and wish it could be so for all of us whose wings were clipped, who tiptoe with our pens, building thoughtful nests for what still flies. Our hopes, our love of truth and beauty, all those ladders leading down to earth and taking care of him or her with whom we share our bare bones nest of arms, each time we dare to open what may still be wings enough to reach each other as we fall from sight and sound and touch into silence so profound we find our voices.
And so, beautiful poem. Tom Holmberg next, and then Bruce Fessenden, Pablo C., and Marco Harps, and then our preacher who is back there. Why don't you give the Queen's wave? There he is, Jose Williams.
Well, hi there, and it's good to be with you again, and thank you for your inspiration. Sometimes, in the quiet of the night, we can hear a pin drop, but not a siren. I met a dying guy once. I took his head and said, "Just hold on." If you torture me, I may never forgive you. Two trolley buses. 600 volts of electricity run through the wires overhead. It is not so interesting to me unless the bus is carrying me to a bus on your cheek. Radishes are good. You can reap 3 crops a year. I like the pumping of your heart better than an oil well. Is that it? I did 5 minutes? Slow, huh? If you don't speak my language, may we still talk? Earthquake. Did the earth move for you, honey? And if we get hurt feelings, whose fault is it? when I close my eyes, I can still see you. Sometimes it's okay to dislike someone.
Kindred spirit there.
You could be next door and I would not know you. You could be on the other side of the planet and your heart might be right next to mine.
Wow.
Great job, brother. Next is Bruce Fessenden, followed by Pablo C., followed by Marco Harps, and then our people.
I'm not sure I need this microphone, but it's here, so I guess I'll use it. This is titled Everyday Dirt. Really that tall? This is called Everyday Dirt. I'm from the old school. I don't do social networking. I manage my vulnerability in my private way. Burlap sack out back filled with everyday dirt. Summertime, smell of the burlap held by the afternoon's air. My rituals have hardened like yesterday's bread. I'm looking for a way to warm my back. Harmony might be preferable to truth. I'm listening for the words to come of their own accord. The animals aren't feeling so good. The Green Mother doesn't support them like she once did. They're not eating and prone to panic. They've stopped following the ancient routines. Redwood groves, remnants of the forest primeval, still hold the silence of 10,000 cathedrals. A living presence nurturing the mystery. But the bears aren't hibernating, bees disoriented and listless. I light a candle for the abandoned child. There's a stink of death coming from the king's chamber, functionaries pacing the halls. I break down the door. I know I can be compulsive, but the guards won't let me speak. Priests intoning in Latin, while workers with spades and shovels are digging the grave. And what is that crazy wisdom living in my blood? To fan the flames of life, you need an earthly connection. I've been dreaming in purple, the color of royalty, where everything is done for you. Perhaps the kings are neediest of all. And I've been dreaming in red, the color of lust. I remember they buried Dad in a cedar casket, rimmed in crushed crimson velvet. His face was pale like wintertime roses, his lips purple. Those last few days, I was a good boy. I cooked his food, I poured his wine. The prince can claim the world. The servant does what's expected. Sand dial keeps tipping and tipping, bits and pieces that make up my heart pouring through the constriction. I remember my grandmother. She never said much. I built my house on her foundation. I'd stay up in her attic when things got bad. She made me pancakes and she tied my shoes. A strong spirit counts for nothing without a form that can hold it. The realm of neglect is where the nuns are found. And what is wisdom anyway? More than a thought process, more than a chemical reaction in the brain. Wisdom is a gift from the world. But when the world is out of balance, waters of love compress into anger, everybody's timing just a little bit off, a little harder to hear, the individual resonating spirit. If I could, I'd tell that dying king that our earth and everything in it is a sacred icon. Every detail perfect from the smallest to the largest. Our earth so generous, so patient, so supportive. If I could, I'd give him some of that everyday dirt. Stars and planets curled up within his seed. A little water and something surely will grow. Give a little back in words and deeds. The tree is strong now. Masters brew tea for the servants. The answer is that there is no answer. The invisible wind is stirring. Be still and have a sip.
Okay, next is Pablo C., then Marco Harps.
Nobody's sitting.
Then Jose Luis Gutierrez on the feature.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pablo. This is my first time here. I just want to say, even though it's my first time, I admire you guys so much already. Like, there's so much love in here, so much beautiful energy in here. With that said, I'm going to move on to my poem. This is called Love Sounds Like. Sometimes love sounds like jazz. Sometimes it sounds like your voice.